you're never going to really be able to win this game of racism, because much of the racism game is built on maintaining control of your self-esteem, right? So ultimately, I would encourage you, you got to manufacture your own self-esteem and not look to other people to validate you, because if you do, then it's going to be very difficult for you to truly stand up to somebody where you inherently feel like they're better than you. All right. So, according to the Powernomics plan, the primary purpose of ethno-aggregation is to convert disaggregated Black individuals and groups into a national team and to concentrate their resources. The more concentrated their resources, the greater their impact and competitive advantage will be. For Black Americans, this paradigm is important because it can directly reverse past conditioning and is the antidote for Willie Lynchism, a slaveholder's plan to divide and conquer Black slaves. Ethno-aggregation encourages Blacks to unify as a people as an alternative to seeking to unite with others. It encourages Blacks to pool their resources. A fist has greater impact than five separate fingers, but a scattered group is like five separate fingers. The stronger of the five fingers working together as a fist has an even stronger impact if directed toward the weakest part of the competitive force. An aggregated group has a competitive advantage over a group whose resources are scattered. Likewise, ethno-aggregation is most effective when the resources are organized and directed. Blacks already ethno-aggregate every time they attend all Black churches and participate in the Million Man March. In politics, we have voted as a bloc within the Republican and Democratic Party, and although we have seldom received direct benefits for our collective voting has testified to our political strength and our ability to ethno-aggregate. We must now learn how to unite and concentrate ethno-aggregate in politics, and learn how to unite and concentrate our financial resources to achieve group economic goals, just as whites and ethnic immigrants have done for centuries. Okay, so basically what Dr. Anderson is saying in this book, in this Powernomics, and you can go to powernomics.com if you don't have a copy of the book, is he's basically saying that you got to come together. You have to find ways to come together with other Black people. So here's a suggestion that I want to make right now. For anybody that has a child, one skill set that I encourage you to mention to your child and to repeatedly mention to your child is let them know that when they grow up, their goal and their job is to get together with other Black people and do things together and create things together. So that means when they get older and they want to go make money, find some other Black people and do business with those Black people. Or if they want to go buy a product, find some Black-owned businesses and support those Black-owned businesses. Or if they want to, or if they go to school and they're trying to find a way to survive and succeed or whatever, find other groups of Black people. Learn how to form healthy relationships with those people. One day you're going to head a Black family. That Black family is going to be one of your power bases. And the stronger the family, meaning the better you choose a partner, the better you raise your kids, the stronger your base is going to be. If you ever look at somebody that really has a really strong family, some of you have that already, where you've got a spouse, two spouses that stick together, that have been married a long time, and a bunch of kids, and the kids grow up, and the kids are all sort of operating under the family umbrella, that becomes a very strong unit. It's very difficult to penetrate that family. You can't go in and exploit that family. That family is going to tend to support each other and have each other's back in a lot of different ways. So that unity is an economic resource. That is power. My brother and I have that kind of relationship. My brother and I have been doing business together for about maybe 17 years. And my brother and I have probably made $20 million together because we stick together. My brother will never, ever abandon me. My brother will never, ever betray me. I will never betray him. We will always have each other's back. We will always fight for each other to the death. And the connection that we have is far deeper than just money. It's not just business. It's a power base. It's a power base that cannot be penetrated. Anybody who's ever tried to divide me and my brother found out real quick that that's not going to happen ever, not in 10 billion years. So, and where did this start? Well, this started because when I was a little kid, when I was 12, my mother couldn't afford a babysitter. Babysitters were expensive. We didn't have a lot of money. So my mother would go to work. My dad had to go to work. And I babysat my brother. I would babysit him when I was 12 years old. And I would change his diapers. I would wake up and have to make his bottles. I had to take him with me everywhere I went. And what happened was we just formed this really powerful bond at that time. So when my brother, as he got older, I mentored him. I poured into him. I was constantly talking to him. When he was 10 years old, I would talk to him about life, about girls, about money, about school, about sports, about everything. And so we connected that way. And he picked up a lot of wisdom from me and a lot of guidance. So when he got older, when he got into college, And I saw him doing well in school. He became an engineer. He was doing really well for himself, and he got a great job offer. So the white man saw how smart he was, and the white man said, "Hey, come work for me, boy. Right? We got a nice job over here at Ford where you can make $50,000 a year." That was pretty good money back then, and that was a big deal. It's probably pretty good money now, actually, for a lot of college graduates. And my brother, I went to him and I said, why don't we work together? I'm about to go and do this business stuff, and I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I'm a little bit nervous, and I could use some help. And so my brother, because we were connected, he said, absolutely, I want to be there for you. So he went to war with me, and we won the war together. I could not have won the war without my brother. I could not have won the war without my brother. So what I'm saying to you is family is an asset. Children are an asset. Your relationships are an asset. Don't overlook the power of that asset. But you got to form the right relationships. You got to invest in them. Just like you invest in stocks and bonds and real estate, you got to invest in people. That's your asset. I mean, think about this. Look at how many trillions of dollars white people have made off of black people. You don't think human beings are a valuable commodity? They're incredibly valuable. So the asset that they invested in, the asset that they made money from, the asset that they use as an asset class to make money from, we throw the asset away. We throw people away. You got 25 people you can go drinking with, and none of those people you can sit down and talk business with. Are you serious? You got all these people you can take trips with and hang out with and watch a game with, but there's nobody in that group can help you go out here and compete in this highly competitive world of race-based economics. Nobody, you don't have a single friend that can really go to battle with you, but they'll all hang out with you and kick it with you and sit at grandma's house and eat greasy soul food until you're all old and gray and dead. That'll make no sense. So incorporate your economics into your relationships, but you got to make sure your relationships are healthy. So I would learn to invest in my relationships the same way you learn how to invest in stocks and bonds and everything else. Relationships matter. If you form the right relationships, it becomes very easy to make money. A lot of rich people, that they have rich friends and they have good relationships with other rich people. So when they need money, all they got to do is make a phone call, and the money's coming because they have good relationships. All right, so let me keep going here. All right, so here's some examples of ethno-aggregation. He says, our society is replete with examples of how whites and ethnic groups aggregate for political and economic competitive advantages in the marketplace. Organizing begets group power. Before the Black Civil Rights Movement, Europeans, English, Jews, Irish, Germans, and Italians used their togetherness as a social and economic foundation. American Indians have been successful in using their ethnic image and treaty rights to hold on to reservation lands and government subsidies. In recent years, they have enjoyed windfall wealth from their approximately 257 gambling casino permits. Newly arrived ethnic and language groups aggregate their resources to build political and economic communities such as Chinatown, Little Korea, Little Cambodia, Little Saigon, Little Vietnam, Little Havana. And actually he puts plural behind each one. I just didn't state the plural, but actually he says Chinatowns, Little Koreas, Little Cambodias, Little Saigons, Little Vietnams, and Little Havanas. So these are multiple communities being formed by different groups that are coming to the United States to have more power than you, because you haven't still learned how to really stick together, right? Of all of the above, Miami's Cuban community in South Florida represents probably the most visible model of ethno-aggregation in the country. Cubans control the political and economic activities in South Florida, which has become their home turf. As they come into the country, they first rallied around the common language characteristics. Then they voluntarily aggregated into the same neighborhoods and established businesses. Next, they began to compete with non-members of their group. They took control of the politics, the schools, and dominated the language. They take pride in being a closed society. They are very nationalistic and sometimes even push the rule of law. In political and economic terms, Cubans have placed a flag in the ground around Little Havana, Hialeah, and South Florida. From behind their Latin culture and Spanish language, they aggressively intervene in international affairs. They play a key role in Radio Marti, radio programming beamed directly at Cuba via satellite for the sole purpose of erasing or interfering with Cuba's regular radio broadcasting. They have flown airplanes in the Cuban airspace to drop leaflets and interfere with the Castro government. They have rallied around common characteristics, pooled their resources, and improved their economic and political standing. Cubans in South Florida require those who come into their area to play their game by their rules. Within one generation, Cuban immigrants economically and politically subordinated Black Miamians and became a political challenge to whites throughout the state of Florida. So how about that for the Cubans? Shout out to the Cubans for representing their own interests. And I'm sure that everything that they accomplished wasn't easy. I'm sure they didn't do it just, with permission and people giving their blessing and co-signing on it. I don't think they were sitting around waiting for anybody to tell them that it was okay for them to behave this way. I'm sure they were heavily criticized for it. I don't think they cared about that. So I don't think you need to care. When people get mad that you want to form your little Black Wall Street or whatever it is you want to do, who cares what they think? Who cares what they think? I don't care. I don't care if you like it. I just need you to respect it, or we're gonna fight. So, when I have the Black Business School, for example, and people say, well, do you have to be Black to be here? I say, no, you don't got to be Black to be here. Just know Black people are in control. That Black people are the top priority. But you can come to the Black Business School as a white person the same way I, as a Black person, can go to Harvard University. I can go to Harvard, I can go to Yale, but I know Harvard and Yale were not built for me. They were built for people in that community. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't have to apologize for none of that. People are going to be very nervous about you being all pro-Black and everything, but you got to let all that go. You really can't ever wait for the day that anybody's ever going to applaud or cheer for what you're doing. I don't think at any point white people are ever going to cheer for the work that I've been doing in the Black community. I don't expect them to cheer for it. In fact, the more they dislike it, the better, the more comfortable I actually am. All right. So, by the way, speaking of that, tomorrow, not tomorrow, so this weekend, June 11th through the 12th, Lene Javette is hosting a Black Power Her retreat. It's a business retreat. It's mostly for women, and she's got over 20 experts in all different areas that are coming together for a pretty powerful event. And it's all digital, it's all online, and I have passes actually. If you go to boycewatkins.com, you can go take a look and decide if it's something that's for you. I think today's the last day. She's offering her passes for half off. So mainly because you guys are here, you can get half off. So if you'd like to join Lene this weekend, it's June 11th and 12th. Her last Black Power Her retreat was pretty powerful. Lene, see, Rita says it. I see you know Lene, Rita. Yeah, Lene is one of our faculty in the Black Business School. She's one of my allies. She's one of our family members. And so I support her the same way she supports us. And she's literally been with the Black Business School and been by our side literally since the first All Black National Convention. A lot of people don't know this, but the first All Black National Convention came to me in 2016. In a dream. I literally woke up and I said, I need to have a convention. I'm going to call it the All Black National Convention. And Lene's the first person I called in Atlanta, and I said I want to host this convention and I want to do it in 3 weeks. And I don't know why, but we rented out. Lene she found the Shrine of the Black Madonna, and we rented out the Shrine of the Black Madonna for 2 days. Killer Mike and David Banner agreed to join us, along with a lot of other great speakers, Malik Shabazz, who else, and a few other people. I can't remember everybody else that was there, but it was like the first one, and it was totally packed out. And the rest was history. But Lene is the partner in crime. She's the first person that helped me put that convention together. And so I have a lot of respect for her, and a lot of it's a huge privilege to work with her. So feel free to check it out. Just go to boycewatkins.com. It's called the Black Power Her Retreat. And there's about 29 women. My wife is actually one of them. She's coming in to talk about money mindset, because my wife is an expert on the subconscious mind. She's a therapist. But then there's like business Constance Carter, who runs the largest Black real estate firm in California, and just a lot of great people from the cannabis industry and everything else. So if that's your thing and you want to check it out, feel free to just go to boycewatkins.com, and the passes are there, and they'll be half off until midnight tonight. All right, so let me hop back in. Let me start reading again. So this is page 46, Powernomics. You can get a copy at powernomics.com. He says, Arab immigrants in and around Detroit are probably the second best example of ethno-aggregation. They began coming into this country about the same time as the Cubans. In the 1960s, they came around in the late 1960s. And like the Cubans, they ethno-aggregated to such an extent that within a 30-year period, they totally subordinated Blacks in select cities and have begun to challenge the majority white society for both wealth and power. Approximately 275 Arabs immigrated into the Dearborn, Michigan, and Detroit areas initially. In that short period of time, Arabs built the largest, wealthiest, and most powerful political base outside of the Middle East. They invest their profits to build more businesses in Black communities. They almost exclusively hire their own people and refuse to buy from Black businesses. Black Detroiters serve as a large, concentrated consumer pool that Arabs use to enrich themselves and their countries of origin. Detroit is an 82% Black city. According to an article in the Detroit News, Metro Edition, July 8, 1999, Arabs, who constitute less than 1% of the city's metropolitan area population, have taken control of 90% of the city's gas stations, grocery stores, party stores, discount strip malls, and medical supply businesses. How about that? How about that, Detroit? How about that? That's a damn shame. I mean, Detroit, really? Motor City? Motown? Like seriously, like you kind of got punked. You basically got punked. This is a damn shame. This is crazy. This is absolutely trifling. This only happens to Black people. We're the only ones who allow this kind of thing. This is not acceptable. This is absolutely positively not acceptable. Let me keep reading. I love you, Detroit, but my Lord Jesus, this is sick. This is absolutely sick. Let's keep going. According to the article, Arab businesses were so profitable last year that their owners sent $69 million back to their homeland to help Arabs who were fighting with Israel in the Middle East. This drain of capital weakened Black Detroit, but it strengthened the developing Arab communities. Once Arab immigrants aggregated and concentrated their resources in and around Detroit, they increasingly used their acquired economic power to obtain local political power. Arabs know that politics follows the money, and not the votes. It follows the damn money. In this regard, it was reported that when Al Gore, the vice president of the United States, visited Detroit in the summer of '99, he chose to meet with the top 100 Arab businessmen, not the Black political leadership. Arabs pledged heavy financial support to Gore, and in return for their financial pledges, they asked for greater business opportunities in Black Detroit. Arabs are now in the phase of ethno-aggregation where they are beginning to use the wealth and power they acquired from Blacks to politically and economically subordinate Blacks. To shore up, protect, and give credibility to their ethno-aggregation, Detroit Arabs hold street festivals and encourage Blacks and whites to attend. They engender pride in their own people by promoting their culture, religion, and language, while masking over the economic competitiveness that they are conducting against Blacks in Detroit. I had to stop and drink some water. I'm getting sick to my stomach, so y'all gotta forgive me. This is too much. It is their ethno-aggregation that gives Arab immigrants their competitive advantages over Black Americans. They use their cultural togetherness to compete for economic and political resources. Even though Arabs may have religious differences with Jews and some Christians, they are still classified as whites and receive the advantages of a higher level of social acceptability than Blacks. Arab immigrants use their ethnic advantages by remaining an identifiable, non-assimilated group, politically and economically linked into a national and international network. What are the implications for Black Americans? Arab immigrants in limited ways can be a powerful example to Blacks who have integrated out of Black neighborhoods. Arab immigrants see clearly why they ought to ethno-aggregate and remain culturally and financially connected to their own people and their own power base. Blacks, on the other hand, have been continuously weakened by events from the diaspora, slavery, Jim Crow segregation, and integration, all of which have made Blacks a scattered group. The ethno-aggregation paradigm is specifically designed to shore up weaknesses created by the involuntary and voluntary scattering of Black people. Power itself always exists in concentrated forms. Power typically only exists when it's concentrated. If you're scattered and diluted, you have no power. Power itself, let's see here, the application of ethno-aggregation will create mindsets that provide incentives for Black people to learn to pull together, to concentrate our power, resources, and compete with various ethnic minorities, as well as the majority monopolies identified in Chapter 1. With the mindset of ethno-aggregation, we will begin to have more control over our own fate, regardless of what the majority society decides. One way to explain ethno-aggregation is to view it as a form of voluntary separation, just like Little Italy and Greektown are separate ethnic enclaves. More specifically, ethno-aggregation signals that we as Black people have gone the full route of integration and have found it wanting. Now we want to pull back a little and to voluntarily interact with members of our own race. Actually, our greatest competitive advantage rests in being neither integrated nor forcefully segregated. Jews, American Indians, Hispanics, Asians, and Arabs have the option to assimilate, but have chosen instead to maintain separate institutions, organizations, and communities. Like them, we as Black people want the same option to have, own, and control our own institutions, organizations, and communities. Our first step to group empowerment is to develop communities in which we practice ethno-aggregation. Blacks are the only group in America that do not have communities. We have residential neighborhoods. Chapter 3 discusses community building in detail and the difference between communities and neighborhoods. Decades of integration caused an exodus of middle and upper class professional blacks, the backbone of our community, into the white suburbs, thus weakening the cohesiveness of earlier Black neighborhoods and making it difficult physically and psychologically to identify and amass our group resources. We are still stymied. Under racial segregation, white indifference to Black communities allowed Blacks to have Black businesses and a sense of community. But while we could aggregate our resources, we were never allowed to use those resources to achieve a group goal or to function as fully independent and competitive communities. Pooling group resources. The ethno-aggregation paradigm creates a context within which Blacks can come together and share. In ethno-aggregation within Black communities, every individual contributes to the group's pool of resources. Individually, Blacks may be poor, but even poor Blacks can contribute to resources that collectively benefit individual group members as well as the group as a whole. One may have only a cup full of beans, another may only have a few strips of bacon, another only carrots. Yet when the individual ingredients are collected, the group can make soup to feed itself or sell to others. This is the competitive advantage of a group. Black leadership, politicians, government officials, corporations, and marketing firms do a disservice to us when they support and recommend policies that disperse our resources and make us vulnerable to others as a passive consumer market. So, with that being said, um, I think that one of the exercises that you can practice within your own family is to ask yourself, what is it that we do as a group? And you don't have to put pressure on yourself. I think that the first thing you can start doing is getting together as a group and talking about something constructive that's going to benefit the family. It might be something real basic. It might be something as basic as I think education and economics are two great places to start. Or sharing ideas, sharing resources, sharing information. Sometimes my family and I will do group Zoom meetings where all we do is we just talk to each other and love on each other and let each other know how we're doing. It may be business related. We may talk about business, maybe not. But ultimately, if you are doing business, maybe that gives you an opportunity to make sure that you and your cousins and everybody knows what everybody else is doing so that you're not having sort of a wasted redundancy of effort where I'm over here struggling on the left, you're struggling on the right, when maybe we could have helped each other out with a phone call. Maybe we could have shared some ideas. Maybe we could have loaned each other some money. You never know. You never know what can come out of that. So that aggregation piece is something that is a question I think you have to ask yourself in terms of saying, okay, in those key areas, you go back to that new paradigm, wealth, education, family, and community. Where are we aggregating? So what are my areas of life where I am aggregating in a way that's going to create wealth? Right? Do I have a group like a circle of? I'll give you an example. Brother Ben X. I supported Brother Ben X's Hereafter Farms down in Georgia, and I also met another brother by the name of 19 Keys when I was down in Georgia, and we were supporting King Randall. King Randall built a school for boys down in Albany, Georgia. And one of the things that 19 Keys mentioned to me that I did not know. Oh, I also saw another guy that I love named Rizza Islam. So 19 Keys told me that back in the very beginning, when they were all trying to sort of create their careers and do what they were trying to do, he got together, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I don't tell the story wrong, but he got together with Ben X and Rizza Islam, and I believe Derek Grace, another guy that I met. I like Derek a lot. And they all formed like kind of a group, almost like a singing group, except they didn't sing. They would just go and speak and go to different parts of the country. Now, all four of those guys individually have their own brands, their own businesses. They have their own little infrastructure and empires and everything else. And I'm cool with all of them. And I love watching what they're doing. And that working together really does make a difference. And so So ultimately, I encourage you sort of to find your group, find your clique, find your other people that are struggling just like you are, or maybe they've reached the same level as you. You don't have to compete. Okay, you're doing your Instagram and you're doing your thing, and I'm doing my thing. Is there some way we can form some sort of cross-disciplinary trade-off where maybe, for example, I'll give you a real-life example. Jay Morrison and I go on his Instagram once a week. And his people get a chance to hear what I have to say. He comes on my Instagram once a week. My people get to hear what he has to say. I saw that the Black House was built, and I love the Black House. My wife and I did a tour, so I said, okay, I'd like to have an office in the Black House because we want to have a physical location for the Black Business School, and the Black House is awesome. And I know also that this can help us to put some money into the pot to help you pay all the expenses that come with running this massive, gigantic building. So what I'm saying to you is find something that you can do as a collective that's really going to work well and allow for win-win situations. Practice doing that with other people. Every time you get the desire to compete or to fight, try to see if there's a way you can establish win-wins before you either walk away or before you start trying to fight each other and destroy each other. And if you can't find that, then there's nothing there. But I think that's actually an art that I believe is extremely beneficial to you. If you can really go into relationships thinking, okay, what can I do for you? What can I do that's going to make your life better so that you'll want to come and make my life better? In case you want to know, that's my secret in business. That's what I do. Everybody I work with in business, I don't know if you notice that even when people are fighting with me and yelling and screaming about me, I don't even respond because it's like either I'm going to find a win-win and try to work with you, or I'm just not going to even acknowledge you. I'm not going to address. I'm not going to talk to you. We're not going to have any because fighting is not beneficial for anybody. But for the people that that I do talk to, I'm always thinking, okay, what can I do to help you? What you're doing is really great. Can I support in any way? Well, how can I support? And some of it is because I want to support, but also some of it is because the more people you help, the more people will come along and want to help you. Right. So be a helpful person, be a supportive person, and that will go a long way when it comes to business. George Fraser wrote a great book called Success Runs in Our Race. That book, George Fraser is one of my mentors, a guy I look up to. I love him immensely. And in this book, Success Runs in Our Race, he said something very basic about networking that was mind blowing for me. I heard it the same year I met Dr. Claude Anderson for the first time. This is about 2006, and it's great that those two guys are two of my best friends in the world right now. And in that book, George Fraser mentioned that one mistake people make when they network with other people is they come to them trying to get something. They come to them, saying, "Hey, I've got this business. Can you invest in my business? Can you give me money for this, or can you buy my product?" And that's very draining. And he said you should really actually do the opposite. You should offer them something. Show yourself to be a helpful resource, and then later on you'll get around to receiving something. And then Dr. Claude Anderson, what he told me that really stuck with me, that really helped me a lot when I was when I met him in 2006, was he actually was one of the first people to tell me that it's good to be a radical scholar. At that time, being radical was costly. I was getting blackballed from academia. Syracuse University didn't want me around. It became kind of a big mess. And so ultimately, it got to the point where I was like, God, they say you're radical, and then they do this and do that. And he said, no, being radical is good. When you're black, you're supposed to be radical. If you're not radical, then you're pretty much dead, because there are lots of things that you have to be radical about. So I encourage you to find your own version of radical. So radical might mean radical in terms of how you view your family. Radical might mean being radical in terms of how you view education. Radical in terms of how you view wealth. Radical, maybe it's your health and your fitness and things like that. But find something to be radical about. Find something that's going to make you stand out a little bit different, and then find other people who get that, who totally understand that. And that's when you'll find your clique. That's when you find your tribe. And the more you connect with that tribe, the stronger you actually become. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up for today. Today we're on page 48, the bottom of 48. So I'm going to mark this spot right here. And I hope you'll forgive me, since I had that COVID last week. I'm still trying to recover from that, so I'm still a little bit woozy. But I definitely want to do this book club this week with you guys, because I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. And also, I will be back next week. So next week, Wednesday night at 8:30, we're going to do this again. We're on page 48. And you can get a copy of the book at powernomics.com. And also, don't forget Lene Javet's Black Power Her Retreat, where she has 29 women experts and from every single walk of life, and a ton of free gifts and trainings and content and all kinds of stuff. You can actually go to boycewatkins.com and take a look. It's totally digital. It's this weekend, and it's going to be very good. Lene's conferences are usually over the top good. They're the best I've ever seen. So feel free to go take a look, and everything's right there at boycewatkins.com. I'll put it up there. All right, so have a good night, everybody. I love you, and I'll see you soon. And hopefully I'll see you guys at the convention also. That's also in my website, boycewatkins.com. So feel free to join us at the convention. We're probably going to sell out this year, so you may not want to get your ticket at the door. You may want to get it at some point in advance, because we've sold hundreds and hundreds of tickets already. And so it's really going to be an awesome convention, a great family reunion. I know you're going to love it. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I'll see you guys next week. Take care now. Bye-bye.